Hey guys, so I'm here with part 2 of the mini brag book album. I've gone ahead and I've attached all of my pages onto the binding system that I showed in part 1. Okay, so all the pages are attached. This is what it looks like from the side. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the size of the tags as well as the tabs that I used. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the cover with you guys. So what I'm using is just a 1 1/4 inch circle punch. You can use any size that you want. You can use an inch, you can use larger, whatever you want. And then I'm also using this Stampin' Up, I believe it's called Lacy Labels punch. This is what I'm using to make the tabs on the tags. I don't have the tag punch, but this works just as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking my 1 1/4 inch circle punch, and you'll see here that there's 2 notches on either side of it. This is the center of the circle, so I'm going to use that to line it up. And I'm going to make cascading circles for the tags. So I'll start on page 1, and I'll line up with the 2 notches on the sides. Okay. Okay. So here's your little insert for the tab. You don't have to, it's totally optional. I like the look of it. So move on to the second page. So now you have all of the little inserts cut out for your pages. And I like to do it before I decorate the pages because these punches are great, but they don't go through very many sheets easily. So I like to do it like this, and then when I create the pages, I go ahead and put it on here and mark it the same way, and then I punch the holes before attaching it to the page. So let's go ahead and work on the actual tabs that will be going into each pocket. So I'm going to take my craft cardstock again. Again, you can use any color that you want. It's just my personal preference that I'd like to use craft. Okay, so for our inner tag that are going in each pocket, they're going to be measured 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure 3 3/4, and then 5 inches. And this will fit nicely right in here. Now, you could make them a little bit longer so that you don't have to cut down any pictures that are 3 by 5, since this is only 5 inches, and if you're matting pages onto it, pattern paper onto it, if you don't want to have it overlapping the pattern paper, you can make this a little bit larger. I like mine to sit flush with the actual page, and then that's why I have the tab coming out at the top. But again, it's a personal preference. So my inner tags are measuring 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And you can get 4 from one sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. Okay, so now that I have all 5 of my inner tags done, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create the little tabs to pull them out. But what I'm going to do first is I like to measure them, so I literally just slip it in and create a very light pencil mark there. Okay, so I have all those created. So I'm going to put this aside. Now to create my tabs, like I mentioned, I'm using this, I believe it's the Lacy Labels punch by Stampin' Up, but I'll double check, and I'll probably put something down here confirming whether I'm right or wrong. So I'm going to be taking these 2 pattern papers, both of them by Echo Park. I love this collection, the Bundle of Joy and the Coordinating Dots and Stripes. They also have it in Boy, and these are the 6 by 6s. I primarily use 6 by 6 in my card making, so this just happens to be what I'm using in my brag book. I love this collection. It's awesome. I actually have extras of them for sale, so if you're interested, just shoot me an email at Techniques by Trish and I'll go ahead and send some out to you, but they are fantastic. I love Echo Park paper anyways. But I'm going to go ahead and use, let's see, I think I'm going to use the dots and stripes. That's just to show you exactly how I make the tab. Okay, let's actually see if I have any scraps in here. I do not. Okay, so I'm just going to punch out. Actually, this page just ripped out. I'll go ahead and punch one of these out. Now, you can use your scoreboard if you want. I don't. I just do it by hand, and you're just going to score right down the middle where you have those 2 points. Okay, and there you have it. Here is your tab. Now, some people might like this fancier side sticking up. And what you would do is you simply just cut down the center and adhere it. I don't like the extra steps, and I actually don't mind the tabs looking like this. I think they look pretty cool. So what you would do is you would just use your guide right here, your circle, and attach it right over there like so. Okay, and I'll actually do one with you guys because I like to keep some pages pretty minimum for the tags. Other ones I like to fully mat with pattern paper, but this one I will keep pretty simple. Now, I would say to mat your pages before you go ahead and put your tag on. Excuse me, your tab on. If you don't want the tab to be underneath all of your matting. If you like the tab underneath, then go ahead and attach it first, then do your matting. I like it to show over the matting. So let's go ahead and peel these back. And how I do it is I just put it on my mat like so, and I just line it up as straight as possible, covering up that circle that was a guide, just folding it in half. Okay, and there you have it. Super simple, and like I said, you don't need a fancy actual tab punch. You can use a regular punch if you want. You can actually use a circle punch if you have these. You just fold it in half. Same thing. I've done it before with other projects. I just happen to like all the loopiness in this one. So there's your tab. So we're going to go ahead and move on to creating the cover for this. Okay, so we're moving on to our cover. I personally use chipboard. I use medium weight chipboard. I ordered 2 packs forever ago, and it's taken me forever to go through them. So you can use chipboard if you have it on you. If not, some people have used cereal boxes, soda boxes. The only thing I would suggest is to make it a little bit more sturdy, use a couple layers of it, but I have chipboard on hand, so that's what I'm using, and I actually had leftovers from my last album. So the chipboard cover and the back is going to measure 6 inches by 4 1/8. So, let's see here. I just want to do 6 inches like this. Now you'll notice I'm using a different cutter than what I used for my paper. I actually had this cutter and the arm here came off and I super glued it, and now it's not even. But it's a very heavy duty paper trimmer, which I love. It's by Fiskars. But the suggestion that I have for you is use a different blade, or if you have a separate cutter, use a separate cutter altogether, because the blade will take a lot of damage from going through the chipboard, and so when you go to cut your cardstock, it'll kind of fray the paper and such. So I just use a different trimmer altogether, just because I have a second one on hand. Okay, so 4 1/8 by 6, and doing the same thing for the back cover. Okay, and then for the center binding part of the cover, it's going to measure 1.5 inches by 4 1/8. This is just a hair over 1.5. Okay, so there we go. So here you have your cover. You'll notice that the measurements of this cover will allow for the tabs. I keep calling them tags. The in part is tags, these are the tabs. It'll allow for the tabs to be totally hidden inside of there, and that is so that these are just, you know, basic pattern paper. It'll bend, it might tear, so the cover being the length that it is, I'll add that extra protection for these. Okay? So, I haven't really decided on my paper yet, but I guess we can do that together. I think for this album, I'm going to go with this blue and pink print. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here it is right here. Okay. And you are going to need 2 pages of it if you're using the 6x6. If you're using the 12x12, then you would just need 1. Okay. And what I'm going to do is for my center, I'm going to change it up, and I'm actually going to use the chevron in the pink. Okay? So, this is just a measurement by eye, so I will give you the measurements in a minute. But I like to have at least 1/2 inch hanging over all sides of the cover. You'll notice that it won't come all the way to the edge. That is okay because I'm using a different one in the center, and I'm going to compensate for that. Okay? So let's move this here like so. And I'm just going to take a pencil, if I can remember where I put it. There we go. And I'm just going to mark it with the pencil. I'll go ahead and cut this. And I'll measure it so that I can cut the next strip the same length. It looks like it's about 5 inches from what I can see on this board, but let's double check. Oops. Yep, so 6 inches by 5 inches. Okay, so this will be for my 2 covers here. Now, the centerpiece, you're going to want to remember that you want to leave at least 1/4 inch between your center binding and your covers. So, I want to make sure that I have enough paper to cover this extra piece here on both sides, and I need to compensate for that extra 1/4 inch that's going to be in between the front cover and the center, as well as the back cover. So, I'm going to cut off this hole here, hole at the top of the page, and I'm actually going to cut, and again, this is just by eyeball, I'm going to cut right where my punch is here, and I'll give you the measurements of that. So, that measures 4.5 inches by 6, okay? Actually, 4.5 inches, and then we're going to cut this down to 5 so that it all measures out the same. So 4.5 inches by 5. Now you're going to say, wow, that's a lot of overhang on either of them. However, I want to use a border punch. So, I'm going to do that before I even go ahead and attach this. Let's see. You don't have to use a border punch. I just like a decorative element to it. Let's see which one I want to use. I really like the Martha Stewart doily punch. I think that's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so what I do is attach some score tape to all the pieces. Now this is the cover, you don't want it falling apart, so do not cheap out on the score tape. That would be my main point of advice. So I'm applying to all corners, and then I'm also going to do 2 strips down the center, okay? Okay, so I've attached score tape to all my pieces. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the covers first, and then I'll go towards the center. So we're going to lay the opposite side down. We're going to go ahead and center this as best as possible. Remember that you're going to have some piece of the cover hanging off, okay? I'm going to flip this over, take my bone folder, and just really get it to stick. I'm just going to cover up this adhesive so it doesn't dry out. Okay? I'll do the same thing with the other cover. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and attach the center. Now, you can use either side you want. I want the chevron to be on the outside, so I'm going to go ahead and attach to the polka dot. Again, centering it as best as possible. Okay. Okay, now for the center part, we need to attach these 2 pieces alongside. You're going to notice that we only have adhesive here, so what I'm going to do is apply another strip of adhesive as close to my border punch as possible. And that way we don't just have it hanging on by one little strand of adhesive. Okay? So I'm going to remove one side at a time. You want to center it as best as possible with your center piece. Again, remember you need to leave at least 1/4 of an inch so that way you have room for your book to bend, like so. Okay? So we're going to go ahead. Oh, look, I didn't center it very well. However, not a big deal. Here's why. These are going to bend over, so you're not going to notice that. But you're going to want to make sure next time that... My problem was that I didn't center one of these pieces as well to the pages. Probably this one is crooked. But you want your chipboard to be lined up as best as possible. So, let's go ahead and do this side as well. Again, lining up the chipboard as best as possible, leaving that 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and again, let's flip over. Just really seal it. Okay, and you'll see that you need these little extra space so that you can fold it. Okay. The next step is just basically creasing around the outer edge. Okay. What I also, the way that I attach these extra pieces is I fold the corner in. And I found that this is the cleanest way that I can get a corner. I used to cut out the corners, and then sometimes the chipboard would show through, and that would just really irk me, even though the person receiving it wouldn't even notice because they were just, you know, homemade gifts. They were just more fascinated with that, but it really just irked me. So I found that the best way is to fold in your corners first, and then go ahead and fold on all sides. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Again, do not be cheap with your adhesive. You don't want the cover coming apart. You're just going to want to go all the way around. And then we're going to go ahead and cover the inside with either basic cardstock or pattern paper, your choice. Okay, so you see I've attached score tape all around all the edges, and I'm just going to work one side first instead of removing all of the tape. So I'll work on this side first, removing adhesive from the top and the side. Fold over this corner, okay. Remove the bottom, fold over this corner, and it really helps to have everything kind of folded over first so that when you go ahead and actually fold and adhere it, you don't have to work so hard for it, okay? So there's one side. Now we're going to go ahead and do the top, and then the bottom. Go ahead and flip this over. And again, just using your bone folder to really make sure it's stuck. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side, then we'll fold in the center, okay? Now we're going to do the center. What I like to do is, since you have this overhang here and you only have adhesive here, I like to add just a little bit, again, just to be sure that this decorative edge really sticks. You can also use just quick dry. It's easier, it doesn't get stuck to your fingers. Okay. Actually, it looks like I missed a couple spots, so go ahead and just apply just a touch of quick dry on the spots that I missed with score tape. You're just going to fold again here just to get really good crease. So there's your cover. Really pretty, huh? And I like the decorative edge here. So you're going to see on the inside that you have these little lips here. I'm sorry, my camera is not very clear. I need to get a new camera. But don't worry, because we're going to cover up just a little bit of that, so have no fear. So let's go ahead and move on to the inside. You can use the same paper that you used on the outside. You can use something a little bit more simpler. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go ahead and use some, I'm going to use the same matching colors as the outside, but the patterns will be a little bit simpler. I'm going to go with the dots and stripes again. So I am going to go with this blue. I think I'm going to just do these basic dots, and I'm going to go with the smaller of the two dots. I have chevron on the inside. You know what? Actually, let's see. Yes, I will go with the dots. I'm sorry. I can't make up my mind today. And then you're also going to want to cover the center part again. I'm going to do it with the same chevron pattern. This one seems... Hold on, there's two different pinks in here. Okay, looks like I'm out of the same color pink for the chevron, so I can just do polka dot or stripes. It's totally up to you. So let me go ahead and get you the measurements for the inside. So we are going to do 3 3/4. 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that'll be for these two sides. Okay. And we are going to go ahead and measure the center. Again, remember you need to leave a little bit of extra for the crease. So I'm going to do 5 inches again because I'm going to do the same scallop border, but that's totally up to you. 5 inches by 3 3/4. So my new measurement is 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. Make sure you, if you're doing a border punch, that you border punch the correct side, because I have done that before. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've border punched both sides. This will lay right in the center. It doesn't match up perfectly with the outside, but that's okay. So again, we're going to be doing the same thing with the adhesive, going all the way around. I like to lay my adhesive slightly over the current outside cover page, just because I know it's going to be overlapping a little bit, so I want to make sure that I get it right at the edge. And again, I'll probably do 3 strips down the center this time. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've attached all of my adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and put my inside layers on. I'll more than likely fast forward through this, just because who really wants to sit here and watch all of this? Okay guys, so here is your cover, totally covered with your paper. You can choose whichever side you think looks prettier for the front, for the back. So I'm going to go ahead, and the last thing I'm going to show you is how to attach your closure, but I'm going to do that in next video since this one's already super long. So check back for the last video on how to go ahead and attach your closure and how to attach your actual mini brag book inside of here, which is super simple. Check back for the next video.